The crimson dust of Mars swirled around the Phoenix as it made its final approach to the ruined colony. Captain Robert Johnson's hands gripped the controls tightly, his eyes scanning the desolate landscape for any signs of salvageable structures. "Touchdown in 30 seconds, announced navigator Sarah Thompson, her voice steady despite the tension palpable on the bridge. As the ship settled onto the Martian surface with a soft thud, Johnson turned to his crew. "All right, people. We've got a lot of work ahead of us. Let's see what we can salvage from this mess." Engineer David Miller was the first to exit the ship, his environment suit gleaming in the pale Martian sunlight. He surveyed the wreckage of the once proud colony, his trained eye picking out potential resources amidst the destruction. "Captain," Miller's voice crackled over the comm, "I've identified several intact habitat modules. We might be able to use them as a starting point for the new colony." Johnson nodded, even though Miller couldn't see him. "Good work. Have the 3D printers start fabricating connective structures. We need to get a pressurized environment up and running ASAP." As the days turned into weeks, the Phoenix crew worked tirelessly. The 3D printers hummed constantly, producing everything from basic structural elements to complex life support components. Slowly but surely, a new colony began to take shape on the Red Planet. Meanwhile, in orbit, another team focused on salvaging what remained of the manufacturing and processing station. Spacesuited figures moved gracefully among the debris, carefully extracting valuable equipment and materials. "We've recovered about 60% of the original manufacturing capacity," reported Lieutenant Emily Chen, the team leader for the orbital salvage operation. "It's not ideal, but it's a start. We should be able to begin limited production within the month." Johnson allowed himself a small smile. It wasn't much, but it was progress. As he watched the new Martian colony grow and the orbital station slowly come back to life, he couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. Humanity had been knocked down, but they were far from out. Deep in the asteroid belt, the Prospector continued its crucial mission. Captain William Brown stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the holographic display showing their latest discovery. "What have we got, Garcia?" he asked, his voice tinged with excitement. Navigator Olivia Garcia manipulated the display, zooming in on a cluster of asteroids. "Sir, we've hit the jackpot. This group here," she highlighted several large objects, they're rich in rare earth elements. "And this one," she pointed to a particularly massive asteroid, "it's practically solid iridium." Brown's eyes widened. Iridium was one of the resources the Busner had demanded. This could be a game changer. "Wilson," he called to his engineer, "prep the drone engines. We're going to redirect these beauties." James Wilson nodded, his fingers flying over his console. "Aye, sir." Drone engines ready for deployment. Over the next several hours, the crew of the Prospector worked meticulously to attach drone engines to the resource-rich asteroids. It was delicate work, requiring precise calculations to ensure the asteroids would reach their intended destinations. "First asteroid away," Wilson reported as they watched the massive rock slowly begin to move, propelled by the tiny but powerful engine. "Trajectory locked in lunar orbit. Estimated arrival time, 3 months." Brown nodded in satisfaction. "Excellent. Let's get the next one ready for Mars. The quicker we can get these resources to our processing stations, the better our chances of meeting the Busner's demands." As the Prospector continued its work, redirecting asteroid after asteroid, Brown couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. They were out there, alone in the vastness of space, but their actions could very well determine the fate of their entire species. Back at the Moon, the Hope had transformed the lunar landscape. Where once there was only destruction, a new colony now stood, its gleaming domes a testament to human resilience and ingenuity. Captain John Smith surveyed the progress from the observation deck of the Lunar Orbital Station. The manufacturing facilities were operating at full capacity, churning out components for both the lunar colony and Earth's burgeoning space fleet. "Status report," Smith called out to his team. Lieutenant Emma Wilson responded promptly. "Sir, lunar colony is at 75% capacity and growing. Life support systems are stable, and we've begun extracting helium-3 from the regolith. The orbital station is operating at 90% efficiency, with full production expected by the end of the week." Smith nodded, satisfaction evident in his expression. "And the first asteroid from the Prospector?" "On schedule to arrive in 2 weeks, sir," Wilson replied. "We've already begun preparing the processing facilities. As Smith watched a shuttle depart the orbital station, laden with freshly manufactured components bound for Earth, he felt a surge of pride. They had taken a devastating blow, but humanity was fighting back with everything they had. In a top-secret facility on Earth, a new ship was taking shape. Unlike anything humanity had built before, it incorporated every scrap of advanced technology they had managed to gather or develop. Dr. Elena Reyes stood before the partially constructed vessel, her eyes gleaming with a mixture of pride and apprehension. This ship represented the culmination of human ingenuity and alien technology, a hybrid craft that they hoped would give them an edge against the Lunar. "How's it coming, Doctor?" Admiral Victoria Hayes asked as she approached, her eyes taking in the sleek lines of the ship. Reyes turned to the Admiral, a small smile playing on her lips. "Better than we hoped, Admiral. The Lunar propulsion system integrates perfectly with our enhanced structural design. And the stealth coating." She paused, her smile widening. "Let's just say that if this works as well in space as it does in our simulations, the Lunar won't know what hit them." Hayes nodded, her expression grave despite the good news. "And weapons?" Reyes's smile faded slightly. "We're still working on that. We've made some progress reverse engineering some of the alien tech we've recovered, but we're not there yet. For now, this ship will be more about reconnaissance and rapid response than direct confrontation." "It's a start," Hayes said, her eyes returning to the ship. "What are we calling her?" Reyes's smile returned. "Officially, she's the XSV-1. But the engineering team has taken to calling her the Prometheus." Hayes raised an eyebrow. "Bringing fire to humanity? Let's hope this gift turns out better than the mythological one." Half a world away, in a bunker deep beneath the Ural Mountains, the leaders of the Axis powers gathered around a holographic projector. The image of their new Myzoan ally flickered before them, its reptilian features inscrutable. "We have considered your offer," the Russian president said, his voice steady despite the weight of the decision they had made. "We agree to your terms." The Myzoan scales shimmered, what might have been satisfaction rippling across its alien features. "Excellent. We will provide you with the promised technology. Our ships will arrive at the designated coordinates to collect the specimens." The Chinese president stepped forward, his face a mask of determination. "And you guarantee that this technology will allow us to defend ourselves against the Lunar?" The Myzoan's head tilted slightly. "The technology we offer is far beyond anything the Lunar possesses. With it, you will be able to protect your world and carve out your own empire among the stars." Between the holographic representation and the alien body language there was no hint of deception, even though the Myzoan speaker knew their technology was well below that of the Lunar. As the hologram faded, the gathered leaders exchanged glances. They had just agreed to trade thousands of their own citizens for an alien race in exchange for advanced technology. The weight of their decision hung heavy in the air. "It had to be done," the Chinese representative said, breaking the silence. "For the survival of our people, for the future of our nations." The others nodded grimly. They had made a devil's bargain, but with the Lunar threat looming over them and the Western powers pulling ahead in the new space race, what choice did they have? Aboard the Defiant, now deep in unexplored space, Captain Michael Davis reviewed scanner data. He had been tasked with avoiding Lunar at all costs. "Looks like the Lunar star chart was correct," Navigator Pedro Martinez reported. Davis nodded slowly. "Keep an eye out for anything Lunar and start heading for the third planet." Lieutenant Sarah Foster, the ship's communication officer, looked up from her console. "We are getting a host of data from that planet. The AI is working on modifying the Lunar translation program to better suit a translation directly from Sarani to English for us." "Good, let me know as soon as we can communicate with them," Davis replied. The Defiant reached the planet's closest log-range point and broadcast a message the Lunar had given them toward the planet. Meanwhile, their AI fine-tuned itself based on broadcasts from their planet, all while keeping a nervous eye on all the possible points a wormhole could open and a Lunar fleet emerge. Back on Earth, in the Oval Office, President Albert Chambers sat alone, the weight of recent events heavy on his shoulders. Reports from the various missions provided hope: the new colonies taking shape on the Moon and Mars, the resources being redirected from the asteroid belt, the promising developments in technology and ship construction. But the latest intelligence about the Axis powers deal with a new species chilled him to the bone. Humanity was fracturing at a time when unity was needed most, with different factions making their own alliances and dealing with various alien species. As Chambers stared out the window at the setting sun, he couldn't help but wonder, in their desperate scramble to survive and advance, were they losing sight of what made them human? And in the grand chess game of galactic politics, were they players or merely pawns? The Busner threat still loomed large, the deadline for their tribute drawing ever closer. But now, humanity faces threats from within as well as without. The coming days and weeks would determine not just the fate of their species, but the very soul of humanity. As night fell over Washington, Chambers steeled himself for the challenges ahead. The path forward was fraught with danger and moral ambiguity, but they had no choice but to press on. For better or worse, humanity's future among the stars was unfolding, and there was no going back.